Good evening, folks. If you are watching after the fact, then please do feel free to skip ahead to qualifying as we get the rest of the drivers into the session. I do apologise for the lateness of the start this evening. We had a few technical problems that meant we had to delay the lobby setup till a little bit later than planned. But like I say, feel free to skip ahead, and we shall see you in a few moments for round number 6 of APPF1 Tier 1. Good evening, folks, and welcome back to APPF1 Tier number 1 for tonight's dose of racing action. My name is Sumo, and I shall be your commentator, bringing you all of the on-track action this evening in the only way that I know how, with as much excitement and enthusiasm as I can muster. It is round number 6 then of the APPF1 Tier 1 Championship, and we tackle the Autodromo Jimenez Rodriguez in Mexico City for the Mexican Grand Prix. This 4.304 kilometer circuit hosts 17 corners and is a rather technical circuit that has a 1.2 kilometer straight that makes up about a quarter of the track and provides one of the best chances of overtaking into the turn 1, 2 and of course number 3. Sectors 2 and 3 host twisty technical corners that the drivers will need to be precise around if they are to get a decent lap time, which will give them decent results in qualifying if mastered. So let's get all of the session up and underway. Hello, Jonathan, in the chat, upping the sumo. Let's see, let's get the lead driver. There you go, that's Rick in the Aston Martin. And let's pull up the standings then as they sit thus far. Remember back to last week when Mercedes had a real shocker of a race? Well, we'll see how that's affected them. Lifeboat then, 72 points on the top of the standings at the moment, but with Finley has closed that gap a little bit, interrupting the 1-2 that Mercedes had. He is now on 65 points in the Scuderia AlphaTauri. Then we have ET8 Chris in the other Mercedes car, 60 points. Red Flame Joe then on 55. Jackalacca on 39, tied with his teammate Rick in P6. Then there's Banter Brandon in 7. 8 is Yasko Kirill. Robbie Pfeiffer in P9, who says he doesn't like this track this evening, but in a more colourful fashion. Then Whizburn rounded off the top 10 on 28 points. Tied are Ghost and MX on 25 points. Then another tie between JBS Steve and Speed Alcoholic. The Ferrari driver of Lawrence on 22 points with a nice job on 18. Then there is Daphne Hillis on 17 points. Then Womax, oh no, Whizburn, Womax. Strange. Womax is 15th. Then there's a tie again between Alex Duarte and LB on 9 points. MCL, and Palang on 7 points. Jonathan on 6 points. And then there's RJ as well on 4 points in the McLaren. Wishing my Tier 2 teammate the best of luck this evening, as he's had a bit of a shocker of a season, of a season so far. Before we round off the championships for the year. But let's take a quick look over the team standings as qualifying is underway and going. Mercedes 132 points. That gap's come down a little bit as AlphaTauri have jumped up ahead Aston Martin into P2 on 90 points. Then Aston Martin on 85. A point behind are the Alpine outfit with 4 points behind them are the Williams, who round off the top 5. Then Alfa Romeo on 53 points, 10 points ahead of the Scuderia Ferrari, who have dropped a place after the last race. Then McLaren and Red Bull are tied on 35 points each in positions 8 and 9, with Haas rounding up the back on 33 points, just 2 points behind McLaren and Red Bull. But that is how the standings shake up as we go ahead. Rick has set the pace of 1 minute 17.137, although I'd expect there to be more time in it. Although the clouds do look very, very grey and grim around this circuit, and we could expect some rain. Ghost says, cheers mate in the chat, sorry for the delay, no problem mate, no problem at all, give me more time to get ready. Disclaimer is stressed, it's had 0 practice, borrowing a setup off Rick as well. Oh dear, cut him some slack. No I won't. But Finley, there you go, proving my point. He goes a second quicker than anybody else has managed to set. Speed Alcoholic goes a little bit faster on those medium compound tyres than the Aston Martin of Rick, although Jackalacca look a little bit off the pace from his teammate on that particular occasion. But let's ride on board with our championship leader, as he's... Actually, no, he's not setting a lap. He's finishing one. We won't ride on board with him. We'll ride on board with Jonathan, who's finishing a lap. I'm trying to find someone who's about to start a lap, maybe. But I think everybody's started one and is about to finish one. It was JB about to start a lap. Here he goes then. We'll ride along with JB in the McLaren, starting a lap down this 1.2 kilometres straight out from the last corner. Important to get a good exit to propel you down this straight in towards turn 1. Braking around the 100-metre board, looking for that apex on turn 1, and then looking for the apex on the subsequent corners of turn 2 and 3, and then making sure a good exit's there, opening up the DRS for the second time on the lap as we go down towards turn number 4 now, braking once again around the 100-metre board, looking for that apex again, and then it's a quick snap to the right, slowly rotate the car around that couple of corners, and a double right-hander through here, looking to just about hit those apexes. You can just about get away with missing them. Then we come into sector 2. We're already in it, but we're into the twisty part of sector 2. Fast, twisty corners that come at you one after the other. Very tricky to go through. A little bit of a lift there from JB. I think he's got some more time to be able to find in that McLaren. Then open to DRS for the final time on the lap. Down in towards this corner. That's turn number, I couldn't tell you. It's turn number 14, 15, 16, 17, I think. And then through the stadium now, one of the most iconic sections on the circuit, round the final corner to finish off the lap. Don't spin it here, JB crosses the line. Where's he going to place himself? It's only P8 for the McLaren, but it's not a terrible lap. He's only a few tenths off the others. Meanwhile, Lawrence has found himself in P5. Robbie Pfeiffer has gone quicker than his teammate, although he says he hates this track. What's that about, Robbie? Let's see who else is out on the circuit. Jasko Kirill's about to start a lap. We'll ride along with the Alpine as they are making their way around the Autodromo Jimenez Rodriguez here in Mexico City. 3 people watching so far. If you are enjoying, please do make sure you like, subscribe, follow the channel, and all that jazz. All the support goes a long, long way. And of course, if you're watching live, of course, get involved in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. Make some predictions, say hello, do whatever you'd like in the voice chat, as long as it's just, when I say the voice chat, in the text chat or the live chat. Just be respectful, bring in some comments of the race, give me some company, as it's just me in the comms box this evening for this Tier 1 session. We've got a great race on our hands, I'd expect, as Jasko Kirill sets a purple sector one time, but we'll ignore that for the time being until the drivers start going out on their second runs. Let's see what Jasko Kirill can do. We're right on board with him. He's coming through this stadium, this section now. Going to be breaking around the 75 metre mark, I think, into that corner. Brakes pretty late. Little snap of oversteer. He just about catches it with some masterful handwork on that steering wheel. One more corner to navigate for the Alpine. Where can car number 69 place himself as he comes tight to the curb? It's P2 for Jasko Kirill. 1 minute 16.657, not a terrible lap in the slightest. Still about 5/10 away from Finley. Yellow flagged in sector 1, but that's just for the Ferrari. I think that's Lawrence letting past a McLaren. That's RJ Blair. Let's see, and Jasko getting out of the way for other drivers on laps as well. MCL's about to start a lap. Anybody else out on a lap right now? Here's RJ then, my Tier 2 teammate. What can he do behind the wheel of the McLaren? Has he got any pace in him? Jakalakos is the fastest sector 1 in the meantime. Let's see where RJ's going to place himself. Fastest middle sector from the American, all the way from Philadelphia, of course, through the stadium section now. Has he got a decent lap time behind that papaya orange car? Coming around the final couple of corners is car number 29. Round the final corner now. Close to the curb as possible, make it as short as you can. A 17.5, not a terrible lap, a fair bit off the pace though that Finley has laid down for us. How about Jacko? He's invalidated through sector 2. That is a shame for the Scotsman. He was on a bit of a decent lap from the looks of things, although 2/10 up you saw from the last one, so perhaps not as fast as he would like to be, at least as fast as his teammate is right now. Let's check in on Ghost, Mr. No Practice at the moment. I think he's just on a slow lap. So he's going round. You see the flashing red light means no ERS is being deployed at the time being. It can also mean there's no ERS left in the car, but as you can see on the multifunctional display in the center of your screen, that the battery, that yellow bar there, is completely full. Let's see who else is making their way around the circuit. Jonathan's just started a lap, although he's just invalidated at the exit of turn 3. He'll likely go again. How about MCL? What's he got in the tank? 17.6 from the Haas driver. Not an awful run of performance. Ghost is going to start a lap as he goes on through. 19.2 for that run, but that's not the pace that he's got in there. He's got some more pace to show for sure. How about Lawrence starting a lap as well? Looks like the driver's opting to go for a couple of cool down laps. Those clouds not parting either. They're not going away. Ever looming they are. Look at the 2 Mercedes. They're poised for some team play here. They're going to give one another some slipstream down that long straight, all the way down towards turn 1, I would hazard a guess. They did it last time out, and it worked for them in qualifying, but then the race went all pear-shaped when Lifebout crashed out of the race, and then I believe ET8 Chris did as well, ruining their race week. Well, I suppose you can count Friday night as the beginning of the weekend, but ruining their evening of racing. And look, there they go. 2 of them working incredibly well together, giving each other the slipstream down the main straight. Then bam, there goes ETA Chris, well out of the way just before the braking zone. Team play at its finest. What's Ghost up to? He's 1.283 seconds up on his previous lap. This could be fairly decent from Ghost. Could see him into the low 17s, maybe the mid to high 17s, if he's managed to find more time here. There it is, a 17.6. Not awful from Ghost. Remember, he is using no line, so he doesn't have that assist with him as he goes around the circuit. So remember, keep that in mind as you go through. Finley down on his time by a 10th. Maybe he's just found the perfect lap. No, he has not, because he's gone even quicker. A 1 minute 15.997, just a few thousandths of a second above the 1 minute 16 mark. But it's enough to push that margin for pole position even further away from the likes of Jasko Kirill and the Alpine. What are they going to be able to do? What can the drivers do in response? Can Lifebout do anything? He's had the slipstream for this lap from his teammate, kindly given to him. Crosses the line at 1 minute 15.407. The qualifying merchant returns once again, putting himself on pole, at least provisionally for now. We'll see if anybody else has got anything in them. We're in the middle of the session so far, so still plenty of time to be had. The Speed Alcoholic has invalidated his attempt of a lap, and we've got a yellow flag, so I can't see how much time is left in the session so far. I'll try and get that up as well. Jacko invalidates again. He's not going to be too happy with that, not too pleased with the performance he's run there. It's the Alpine that's parked off the circuit. I'm just trying to let cars through by the looks of things. And there you can see the Alpine emerging in the background of the shot as the McLaren passes by. You take Chris now in the pits. What's everybody else up to? Anyone on a lap? Ghost won't be on a lap. Jacko won't be on a lap. Rick's just finished a lap, no? Or is he starting one? No, he's finished a lap. And he's gone into the 1 minute 16.9s. He's 300ths of a second faster than Lawrence in the Ferrari. Not a bad time from the young Dutchman. RJ Blair, he's starting a lap. Let's see what he can do in his McLaren. And can he get himself any further up the top 10? He's not a terrible driver at all, as RJ. Just in a bit of a rut of bad luck and bad races at the moment. But I'm sure he will be fighting at his finest once again. I've seen what this man can do on a track. Criminally, it doesn't have. I don't think he's ever won an APPF1 race. At least not an official one, as he locks up through the double right-hander in Sector 2. Not the best way to start off that sector. But there you go, coming through the twisty section of the circuit now. And he goes. We'll see what his sector time is as he crosses the Sector 2 line. Opens the DRS for the final time on the lap as well. There's the line there. It's 5 thousandths of a second up on his previous best. Coming through the stadium section now is the McLaren. Let's see what he can do in that vibrant pink helmet. Oh, and he loses the car. He manages to keep it going in a straight line, but that's going to stop that lap in his tracks. He's going to come straight into the pit lane and prep himself for his final run of this qualifying session. It's just a permanent yellow flag following Jasko Kirill around. What is that about? He's just going very, very slowly on the track. I guess trying to conserve tyres and build up some of that battery as well. Let's see. Here he comes. Around the circuit he goes. Just warming up the tyres. Prepping for the lap to go. Here he goes. Out of the final corner. Going to start a lap. We have 3 minutes and 7 seconds left of this qualifying session. So the final runs are going to come out now. Look who comes out 2 by 2 once again. The 2 Mercedes cars. They're making their way back out onto the track. They're going to have another go. Maybe ET8 Chris will have the slipstream on this occasion, as I think that seems to be the way it goes. Yep, ET8 is the following car, while Lifebout is the lead car on this one. And Lifebout's done a fair bit to get that one under his belt. But a 10th up is Jasko Kirill. Can he find time anywhere else out on the racetrack? We'll see as he comes in through this double right-hander now and gets a decent exit through there. And that's about the precise steering wheel inputs through this twisty high-speed section. Look at the cars just nimbly navigate these corners as they go through, opening up the DRS on this run down here in towards Sector 3 to start off the sector. Very twisty and technical through here. Purple to the middle sector goes the Alpine. Didn't see how much he was up by, but he's just at the fastest middle sector time. So this could be a decent lap from Jasko Kirill. Could see him ahead of Finley if he's gained enough time. Looks decent. It's only a 16.2 though. Closes that gap, but I don't think he's going to have any more time left to try and go any quicker. Anybody else got any responses? How about JBS Steve? He's on a second cooldown lap, or a second cold lap even, and I think it's going to be a running theme for a lot of drivers here. Ghost is on an out lap. We'll see what the British driver has in store for us. I'm trying to find who is going to be the first driver to set a lap. Not going to be Lawrence. Yasko Kirill, he's actually 4 tenths up on his previous attempt, which is definitely not right. I think he might try and go for one more on those tyres. Speed's out of the session. He's crashed at the exit of... which corner is that? That looks like turn 11. He's crashed at. Oh, what a shame for Speed. Just giving it a little bit too much on the throttle, perhaps. Going through there. A little bit too overexcited. And loses it. Let's check in on ET8 Chris. He has started a lap. Let's see what the Mercedes is going to be able to do. The McLaren of JBS Steve just ahead, a 10th down on his previous attempt in the McLaren. Does he have any more in him through the middle sector of the circuit? Let's see what he can do in the Chrome-sponsored McLaren car coming through this twisty section of the circuit. Let's see what he does. I think he hasn't backed off. He's still pushing. He's still giving it everything he can. Coming through here. Let's see what the sector time is. It's just coming up, just a few meters away from the car. He's down by 1.1 seconds. That's a huge shame for JB. He's not going to find much more time there. ET8 Chris, however, up by 26.5 seconds. Well, it's going to be a decent-ish time. It's in the roughly in the 1 minute 16s, 1 minute 15s point now. This could be another Mercedes front row lockout if ET8 Chris can keep it going in a straight line for the final time. Let's go at 1 minute 15.915. That's not insurmountable. Can anybody else put in a decent lap time? Well, Yasko Kirill, right, he's invalidated. How about Findlay? He's 400ths of a second up on his qualified session, coming to life in the dying stages of it. Jackalacco, what can he do? 5 tenths up into P5. That's better from the Scotsman. That's a decent lap time. Who else is out on track? Banter Brandon now out on the circuit. What's he got under the lid? It's an 18-1. That's his qualifying over. The checkered flag is out and waving. Findlay's invalidated his final attempt. That's not going to help his campaign. Lawrence into P5 now, pips down the 2 Aston Martin cars. How about Robbie Pfeiffer through the stadium section, 2 tenths of a second up. This could see him in towards P number 6, maybe even P5 if he can get this final corner right and disrupt the top 5 once again. What can the Alfa Romeo do? A 1 minute 16.8, only good enough for P7. Then there's RJ Blair. What can he do in the McLaren? It's going to be P10 for RJ, and Rick outpaces his teammate by a bit, knocks him down into P7, goes even quicker, but that is going to be a qualifying session. And once again, the 2 Mercedes cars are going to be your front row, locking it out after Findlay couldn't disrupt the flow of the 2 Silver Arrows. That's your qualifying then done and dusted. Lifebout is going to be your man on pole position for tonight's proceedings, with ET8 Chris on the front row. Findlay and Yasko Kirill make up the second row of the grid, with Lawrence rounding off the top 5 and Rick making up the top 6 places. Then Jackalacco and Robbie Pfeiffer are going to share row number 4, with Speed Alcoholic and RJ sharing row number 5 and rounding off your top 10. Jonathan will start P11 with Ghost P12. MCL won't start P13 because he's got a 5-place grid drop, with JBS Steve and Banter Brandon rounding off the grid, with those 2 gaining a place each after MCL's penalty. Red Flame Joe is watching you guys on the stream in the Tier 1 chat, or the paddock as Ghost likes to call it. It's telling everybody to have a great race. The Williams driver unable to make it this evening I'm hoping he'll be back on the grid next week, Red Flame. Just having a little look to see. Lifebout, of course, but your quality is always ridiculous lately, says Ghost in the paddock as well. Lifebout, very, very fast, it seems. He's always been a bit of a qualifying merchant, has Lifebout. Always got some great pace. Always getting the best out of qualifying of late. Just waiting to go through, enjoying the Polish flags that are being waved around as we go onto the formation lap for the race here. This is going to give us a chance to get a little overview of the strategy and what may be yet to come in this race. And we've got a fairly decent split, but it's looking like a predominantly yellow wall tyre. On those medium compounds, we have Lifebout, ET8 Chris, Yasko Kirill, Rick, RJ Blair, Jonathan Ghost, JBS Steve, Banter Brandon, and MCO and the Haas, all opting for the softer compound of tyre for tonight's race. You then have Finley, Lawrence, Jackalacco, Robbie Pfeiffer, and Speed Alcoholic, the two Alfa Romeos, opting for the hard compound tyre. So that's going to be an interesting approach. They'll be a lot faster in the latter stages of this race on softer rubber, but we'll see. It's a long way to go. It's only a short lap around here. It looks like quite a long track, but it's actually not. It's deceptively short for a Formula 1 circuit. A lap time of about 1 minute 17-ish in the race, I suppose. 1 minute 17, 18, something along those lines around here. So it's not the short. It's certainly one of the short circuits out there. Not as short, of course, as the likes of Monaco and Brazil as far as lap time goes, but definitely among those shorter circuits. I think the average for most Formula 1 tracks is around the high teens, low 20s for lap time. So we'll see. But Lifebout coming around the final corner now. See, look how short this track is. I've been rambling on about circuit lengths in Formula 1, and we're already lining up on the grid to get this race underway in just a few moments time. I hope you're all strapped in, ready for 36 laps of great action. Will there be a safety car? Will the two Mercedes bin it again like they did last week and ever close that gap again, or are they going to continue to dominate this season? And is ET8 Chris going to regain his P2 in the championship? It's all up for grabs as the 5 red lights prepare to start going on for the Mexican Grand Prix here in APPF1 tier number 1. We're underway and racing. It looks like a decent start from Lifebout. The two cars behind look like they get a decent run as well. The Alpine and Finley in the Alpha Tauri attacking the sister Mercedes of ET8 Chris, but they're trying to cut off the slipstream as they go. It's 4 wide as they go through. There's an Aston Martin looking to the inside of turn 1. Lucky there's no contact between them. It's a clean start, and I say that. Yasko Kirill goes spinning down to the back. Speed Alcoholics off the circuit as well. Lifebout's got away fairly cleanly, as well as his teammate has too. Finley down, Yasko down a load of places as well. There's a lot of shuffling through the grid here. Jonathan around the outside of the Williams of Ghost, who's getting absolutely mugged through there. Then there's the McLaren of RJ, who makes contact with the Red Bull of Jonathan up ahead, and there's a bit more going on toward the back as well. But a fairly hectic start from the drivers here in Mexico. Let's see after this is settled down what sort of places people have gained. Banter Brandon up 4 places, a decent start for him. Yasko down 9. He started up in P number 4 and has dropped all the way down. Ghost making up a place on Jonathan, who looks to try and come back at him through the stadium sector. Around the outside, invites Banter Brandon down the inside, and he tries to make the move stick, but the next corner really doesn't allow for an overtaking move through there. You don't see many chances at that section of the circuit in particular, but a little battle erupting down towards the back for position number 8, and Jonathan and Banter Brandon at it again. They're picking up the slipstream from Ghost ahead. Banter Brandon going to get it, but Jonathan using a lot lot of ERS perhaps, or just the speed of his Red Bull down the main straight as he got it. They're almost 3 wide as they go through, still side by side though. The Alpine and the Red Bull, the other cars, no choice but to sit behind in single file as they go through. The timing board is a little bit out of sorts for the time being, but it should fix itself and we can keep track of this race much more accurately. But action-packed as the Alpine of Jasko Karol just narrowly avoids contact with the cars ahead after missing his braking point. That was incredibly lucky. Meanwhile, the two Mercedes, they're breaking away, helping each other out, working together. They look like they've got a fairly sizable gap already. I think this is already outside of a second for Finley. It's hard to tell with the timing tower in its current state. Let's see what else is happening. There's a bit of a fight brewing here between Lawrence and Robbie Pfeiffer. Jakalaka will want to get a piece of that pie if he can. Finley though in a fairly decent spot actually. He's not dropped as far away as he could have on those hard tyres, with the DRS now enabled. I won't have it on this run or the next DRS straight. It's a double DRS zone here, so the detection point at the final couple of corners is also the detection point for the second DRS straight along this circuit. So there's that for you there, folks. As the timing tower has now resettled itself, the gap's about 2.2 seconds from ET8 Chris to Finley. So that's where Finley currently sits. He's got to be careful. Rick might try and pounce on him if he can on those medium compound tyres. A little bit of a moment outside of that corner. Banter Brandon, meanwhile, fights with the two-time Tier 1 champion of Ghost, who gets overtaken in the Williams and has to sit behind the Alpine. He's got a bunch of other cars behind him as well, eager to try and make their way past against, well, not just the double Tier 2 champion. He's my co-coms for Tier 2 for a long time, and he's also the server owner. So he is definitely in amongst the mix, into some unfamiliar ground perhaps, Ghost, as he's fighting in the midfield. He's normally fighting toward the top of the grid, but no practice and no line. It's a cruel mistress in this occasion. Meanwhile, Robbie Pfeiffer doing fairly well for himself at the moment on a track he doesn't like, and he's hunting down Lawrence. We're in the DRS, straight past him, fairly simple manoeuvre, and he'll have the DRS on the next run as well to just open up that gap that little bit more. The two Mercedes sensibly not fighting one another. What about Ghost? Can he make any moves on Banter Brandon? He can't on this occasion, but he may get a chance in towards turn number 4. Let's see what he can do. Looks to the inside, thinks better of it, sticks behind, happy to sit with Banter and go through. It's been a bit of an incident a bit further back. It looked like MCL and Speed were off the circuit. Either of them got any damage as they come through? No, I think they just had their own little separate moments. Or maybe they came together. Didn't quite see it. I would love to have replays on F1. Like, you get like a certain window perhaps, or like you can go back, say, a limit. So you get maybe like, so like 5. I don't know, maybe, I don't know how they would do it. Maybe the maximum you can go back is like 20 seconds or something. You can go back and find a certain moment, perhaps, or maybe a highlight system. But anyway, Banter Brandon, meanwhile, chasing down Jakalako as I'm rambling on about replays. Got to pull to the outside. Fairly simple manoeuvre. Jacko's got nothing to do about it. Lawrence is going to repeat the move as well a bit further down. He's going to get himself back ahead of Robbie Pfeiffer. A couple of nice little battles going on there as well. But you can just see how good of an opportunity for overtaking that first straight is, because of the DRS. It's so powerful around this circuit as well. And one thing to remember around here is that it's such high altitude, so it affects the cars so much differently. It's not too much of a huge impact on the virtual world, but I think it does impact the way that the cars are fueled, at least, because the fuel, I think, burns quicker at a higher altitude, if I'm not mistaken. I'm no engineer, so do correct me on that if possible, but I'm pretty certain that's what happens. I've watched enough Formula 1 to be able to pick that up over my time. as a Formula 1 fan and now commentator, at least for virtual events like this one. See what else is going on. RJ Blair chasing down the Ghost, having a fairly decent race for the time being. JB, meanwhile, a bit of no man's land for JB. There's only a few seconds back on them, but off the pace a little bit in the other McLaren car. Can RJ make a move? Let's see, he's hunting down Ghost. Ghost goes to the inside, tries to defend that inside line. RJ straight past him, but Ghost will make it awkward for him. Try to go around the outside. He's got to be weary of Jonathan just behind as well. Oh, and a little snap of oversteer. I say little, that's big, as Jonathan's going to pull alongside him now. It's a drag race down to turn 4. Ghost is just going to succeed that position and let Jonathan slip past after a little lapse of concentration from the double tier 2 champion, tier 1 champion, who drops down to 11. He's now in between Yasko, Kirill and Jonathan. He'll be fighting for those positions there, I'm sure. Well, Banter's dispatched of Jackalacco, and now in this fight for P5 with Lawrence and Robbie. Banter got some good pace on these opening laps of the session. Maybe a good shout for a podium if the pace continues. But he's got a lot of gaps to try and close up here. Once he's past the likes of Robbie and Lawrence, he's then got Rick 1.5 up the road. And then he's got Finley 3.4 up the road. But this move's going to be done and dusted very soon. We'll take a look at the closing speed just as the DRS is activated in the slipstream as well. And put into the inside, gives Lawrence the slipstream. But look, he's boxed in, nowhere to go. And that was some smart defensive driving from Robbie. Lawrence knew that he wouldn't have to defend from Robbie, as he was too busy defending from Banter Brandon behind, and it was boxed in as a result. But here comes Robbie, better exit out of 3, straight past Lawrence. Lawrence looks to go the long way around, make it awkward on the inside line. Still side by side they go through this twistier section, but Lawrence able to get the power down just that little bit better, stays in front of the Alpine for the time being, and that was some very smart defensive driving coming from both Robbie Pfeiffer and Lawrence, who was able to attack Lawrence ahead of him and get himself into the top 5. RJ now the head of this train of cars here. He'll be wanting to break out, but he's got very little ERS left in that McLaren car, so not much to play with, while the 2 Mercedes continue to extend their gap now up to about 4.4, 4.3 seconds ahead of Finley and the AlphaTauri. And it's all fairly kosher for the time being. It's all fairly quiet here in Mexico. There's a few little tussles going on, no huge dramas happening, as Robbie Pfeiffer's closing in on Rick. I think he might have had a little bit of an error, the Aston Martin, and has drawn himself in. Banter Brandon, meanwhile, trying to find a way past this Ferrari if he possibly can. And he might try and get it done here, although they're both going to get DRS. Are they? No. The Ferrari, no DRS on Lawrence's car. And it's a fairly simple move for Banter Brandon, who sets the fastest sector one time in the process of making that overtake. Gets himself ahead. And is able now to chase after Robbie and Rick just a few tenths of a second ahead of him. As Robbie, I thought he was going for a move there. It would have been brave down the inside. Oh, I think that's turn number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, turn 8. That would have been. Just by sort of counting the corners on the track map. But Robbie Pfeiffer again making his presence known at least. 3 of them all close together. Lawrence not too far away as well. He'll want to try and get back in on this. Jacko eagerly trying to get himself within a tenth of a second to get that DRS, which will help him down this 1.2 kilometers straight. So long, so easy to make some moves. And here comes Robbie in the slipstream. He goes, and Rick doesn't fight this. I think he knows it's not worth it, and Rick's used a fair bit of ERS too. Gets ahead, does Robbie Pfeiffer, stays ahead. 4 now. Rick tried to go back around the outside on the Alfa Romeo ahead. Didn't quite work, and actually it cost him a little bit of time now, as Banter Brandon's going to make the move. This will be close between the 2. Long way round for the Alpine. No doing on that occasion. And Rick defends the inside quite masterfully there as well, but trying to switch underneath is the Alpine, not giving this one up. Banter Brandon fighting tooth and nail for this position. Cuts underneath Rick again. Rick has no choice but to surrender the place as he makes a few little errors. He has a little bit of a snap as he exits the corner. Meanwhile, Speed and MCL are getting involved in a bit of fisticuffs toward the back of the grid as they are fighting over the scraps of P14 and 15. Yeah, that was a great little move from Banter, wasn't it? Absolutely great. He's chasing after Robbie now. Looking in. He's got rid of Rick already. He's dispatched him. Banter looking so fast behind the wheel of that Alpine. At this moment in time, he's going to be looking to get ahead of Robbie Pfeiffer, try and dispatch him ASAP. Looks to the left, looks to the right, doesn't find a way past the Alfa Romeo just yet, not quite close enough as they came into the braking zone as Ghost gets ahead of Jonathan. I'm sure you're cheering him on, Red Flame. Your teammate there making up another place, but here comes Banter Brandon again. Doesn't have a move on Robbie Pfeiffer lined up in towards turn number 4. Thinks better of it and is happy to sit behind this Alfa Romeo. Now the longer he battles and the longer he sits behind him, the worse his tyres are going to get. And yes, the hards are going to get worse as well, but they're going to get worse at a much slower rate than these mediums. When the drivers come in, maybe around lap 15, 16 for those medium compound runners, and then maybe like 17, 18, 19, 20, around that sort of range for the hard runners, depending on how brave they're feeling. I doubt anybody was going to go on the soft tyre, because I believe tyre wear around this circuit is not the best, unless of course you're going to go for a safety car grandstand finish and everybody's sprinting to the end of the race. Ghost holding the drivers off behind him. Banter Brandon, can he stop Robbie Pfeiffer from holding him off on this occasion? Let's see. Robbie going to place his car on that inside or toward the middle of the track, but doesn't do much. Banter just soars past. DRS, ERS available as well, or at least more ERS at his disposal than at Robbie's disposal. He'll exit the corner now, open up the DRS once again, which Robbie won't have. This could invite Rick through if he's close enough. No, he's definitely not close enough for a move here. Robbie thinks about it to the inside, doesn't go through on that occasion. Those Mercedes continuing to open the gap, but it looks like the lead has changed. They've swapped around the two Mercedes. ET8 Chris and Lifebound, perhaps they're a bit tired of working together and are now fighting one another for position, so we'll keep an eye on them as they continue on. But Banter Brandon from P number 14 on the grid has gone all the way up to P4. He's 10 places up on where he started, and the fastest lap is currently held by Lifebout. Penalties 3 seconds for Yasko. Yeah, 10 places. I was just trying to check that for you now, but very good run from Banter as Lifebout and ET8 Chris, they're battling again. I think they're still just working together. They've got really no choice but to make those overtakes together. You can see that they're not fighting really, just by the body language of the car and the fact that the ERS in the tank is relatively equal between the two, although ET8 Chris going to use a bit down the straight, working very well together in this Mercedes team. Anyone would think they're trying to win a championship here by working this well together, which don't do a Rosberg and Hamilton and race each other a little too hard, come together. Never ends well. Never. Meanwhile, Yasko Kirill now past Jonathan, who's going to try and look to fight this back. Yasko blocks him off as he's trying to find a way past Ghost. Looks like he's got a better run down the inside of Ghost here, and they're going to emerge side by side again. Can Yasko get this done? Ghost is going to have the better line in towards the next corner, and it does show us that in full style. Able to go down the inside, keep Yasko Kirill, behind him as they go down into this DRS zone. Any move's going to be made. Jonathan getting dangerously close to the back of that Alpine. He's almost pushing him through the stadium section as we go. The two leaders getting close together once again. No overtake for the lead of the race yet It's all settled down in this fight here as well, but for Banter Brandon at least. He's opened up a second now. Robbie's not got much of a response. He has got DRS, but for how much longer will he have it? How much longer is he going to be sat there on those hards before he becomes a sitting duck? To the drivers behind him as well. Oh, somebody's had a moment there. Who was that? Was that Yasko Kirill, or was that just Banter Brandon having a bit of an off? There was an Alpine off, was there not? I think so. Maybe that was Banter, yeah. I think he's dropped back a little bit, perhaps, on that occasion. But let's see, Yasko Kirill fighting with Jonathan. They're side by side through this section of the circuit. Can the Alpine get the power down a little bit better? Ghost is keeping that inside line, fended off very, very well. Jonathan trying to find a way through. Ghost putting on a bit of a defensive masterclass here, making that Williams as wide as he possibly can to keep Yasko at bay. And put him into the clutches of Jonathan on the Red Bull behind, and there's RJ Blair in the background having a cheeky little look to the inside of the Red Bull. Doesn't manage to get that move done on that occasion, but I'm sure he'll have another opportunity to go for it. Finally we have a pit stop. It's Rick in the pits, off of those medium tyres. The pits on lap 14. Chucks another set of mediums on. He's going for a 2-stop here. Not the 1-stop that it seemed like we were going to go for. Is that going to be the optimal way around the track, though? Well, we yet to be seeing that one. But it looks like Ghost has finally lost the place to Yasko Kirill. Looks like he got him in towards turn 1, 2 and 3. And Jonathan's going to capitalise on this one as well. Gets himself up into P9. And that's Ghost back down to position number 10 on this occasion. Decent run of form from all the drivers. Jonathan doing a decent job out there, fighting with the likes of Ghost and Yasko, having a great little scrap over the last few places inside the top 10. RJ having a fairly quiet one as well. ETA, Chris and Lifebout continuing to work together. They've pulled another second off of Finley just behind, who is missing a teammate. We need more. We need 5 more drivers. If you know anyone, or if you're a driver yourself watching, try and get some more folks in. We'd love to have full grids every single evening we have one of these events. It does make the racing all the more better. If you don't know already, I've been taking on the Division 2 commentating for the Evolution Online Racing League. They're a league or server or organisation that gets a few leagues all together to do some racing, and the last race we had was in Austria. Fantastic race, off on the edge of your seat action from start to finish. A couple of safety cars as Jonathan and Yasko Kirill are going to go wheel to wheel, going and battling the Alpines off the track. That surely can't be something that's going to be allowed to happen. That might be looked at in the steward's room if the place is gained on Jonathan, and it is. Yasko was well off the circuit when he was in the process of making that move, but we'll see. But it's an absolutely fantastic race with EOR, and hopefully I'll be back with them sometime soon if my work rota aligns up. There's RJ Blair, still trying to find a way through. Very little ERS in the tank. Save some ERS, RJ, if you can. It's very hard to get it back here. Rick and Speed going wheel to wheel. Speed on 14 lap old tyres. Not doing him the best at this circuit. Excuse me, I keep yawning out of nowhere as Yasko Kirill's out of the session. He's retired in the pit lane. He's had enough of this track. I think maybe he had an incident perhaps with Jonathan. I'm not exactly sure why he retired, but he's in the pits, out of this race. And we continue on no safety car to jumble things up. Some of the drivers would have loved that. It would have really helped their strategies, especially the 2 Mercedes. We're just coming up to the pit lane now. The safety car would be ideal for them. at this time. I think they could even probably get away with a double stack, because not many drivers have yet to come in, and you've got the likes of Jonathan who are miles away. Gap to leader 1 point, no, smaller than that. There's Finley is past ETA Chris because he's gone into the pits. 33.4 gap from Jonathan to Lifebout thus far. Have to see what it does. This does for the Mercedes battle. Where's ETA Chris going to emerge on the track? It's between Lawrence and Robbie Pfeiffer, so he's got some clear air ahead of him. Now onto the hard tyres. He'll take those all the way to the end. Keeping an eye on Rick as well, remember. He's got past Jonathan, who's coming to the pits. He's going to go for a 2-stop. He's gone onto a second set of mediums. He has to go onto a different compound in this race, or he'll be penalised for it, I believe. Disqualified, in fact. So he has to go onto a different compound. Get the gap, the interval gap back, as Robbie Pfeiffer now seems to have closed this gap to banter Brandon ahead. It looks like those medium tyres are finally starting to cry out for some mercy as they are coming to the end of their stint life. Let's see what they do. MCL still yet to pit as well. 3 of the medium runners not pitted for a new set of tyres. What are they going to go on, perhaps? Lifebout going to continue on the stint. Finley comes in on the hard tyre. He'll be on mediums to the end of the race, I'd imagine. He's only got 1 set of hards at his disposal. And yet there's the yellow wall tyre for the AlphaTauri team. Straight onto the car. Banter Brandon in the pit lane now too. He's going to opt to change his rubber. Put on a set of hard tyres all the way to the end. Where's Jackalacco? P5. Where's Rick? Going to come out compared to this. It looks like he's going to jump. Banter Brandon. After that stop, getting a decent undercut is the Dutchman. So it could bode well for his race ahead. But Finley, there he is, out of the pits. Doesn't look like any of the Mercedes are going to be under any sort of pressure or threat, as it looks like the gap's opened up even more. ETA Chris back into P2 after a load of pit stops, although he's got Robbie Pfeiffer for company, but 17 lap old hards compared to 1 lap old medium hard compound tyres, I should say, are going to perform vastly differently to one another. Meanwhile, Ghost and MCL getting into a little bit of a scrap. Ghost getting past MCL, although not too surprisingly, Ghost on a fresh set of mediums. He'll be pushing those mediums as best he can towards the end. Jackalacco closing in on Finley, but Finley got that fresh set of medium tyres at his disposal. Not going to be too worried as I smack my desk, and most certainly picks up on my mic as I do so. Try not to. Now I've reset the positioning now as Rick's got ahead of Robbie Pfeiffer, who's coming to the pit lane. A little bit of a dull one this, is it's just calmed down a bit. All the gaps are opening up. All the drivers just not so close to each other now that the pit stops have come in. About halfway through the race now as well. As we continue on, Lifebout is still looking good for this, although looks like ETA Chris will jump him in the pit lane. And we're seeing, when's Lifebout coming in? Surely it's got to be right now. He can't be going onto the medium, onto the soft tyres. There he goes, into the pits. Comes Lifebout, and he gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It might not affect him too much. He's going on softs. Soft tyres to the end. Is he going to manage it? We'll have to keep an eye on Lifebout and see what he's doing out there. But that's a statement of intent, if any. He wants to try and win this race from his teammate. But that 5-second penalty is going to be a big dampener on his parade. As Finley sets the fastest lap at 19.2. He's coming. He's setting an intention. As Lifebout made a bit of a blunder putting on the soft compound tyres. We'll see. What's Lawrence going to place his car on? I think he's gone onto a fresh set of mediums. He has, after a stint on the hard tyre, and see all them hard runners coming in about when I said they would. And about that mark, this Ghost going to jump Lawrence. Has he got the top speed to do so? Zooms past into Williams as the two rival teams from the 90s switch positions going through these few corners. Meanwhile, all these gaps opening. You can see, look, nobody in that 1 second gap. Your closest fight on the circuit is actually between MCL and RJ, but MCL is about to come into the pit lane as Lifebout gets another time penalty. He's not spinning, but he's bottling it by getting time penalties now. Not what he wants to do if he wants to win another Tier 2 championship, Tier 1 championship. As he's really throwing it away, and I don't know how good these soft tyres are going to be toward the end. If anybody knows what the tyre life is like at this circuit with those softs in mind, do let me know. I'm pretty certain it's very poor, as Jacko's finally in. He'll definitely get that longest stint badge perhaps, as he puts on a set of medium tyres. Even Jacko's got the sense to put on mediums. What are you doing, Lifebout? As a Ghost under threat now. Lawrence closing in on Ghost. Goes to the inside, he does. Lawrence follows him in the slipstream. Two of them side by side down the main straight. Ghost is going to hold this one as best he can. Breaks later than Lawrence. Lawrence going to try and go the long way round through turn 2. Doesn't quite work there. He'll have another chance. He's going to focus on his exit. Let's see. Looks like he's got a much better exit from Ghost, although Ghost has got DRS too, as they both crossed the detection point around the same time perhaps. So the pair of them both having DRS as they go through. Ghost able to hold off Lawrence for now. Lawrence won't be too pleased with that one. Good little scrap this is here in the midfield. RJ and Jakalaka are about to go toe to toe as well, as just a few seconds down the road from this duo here. Lifebout fastest lap of the session. Let's see what that was. 1 minute 18.729. So putting in the time on those soft tyres, but not really opening up a gap to Finley. Does that spell trouble for the Mercedes? Can Finley snatch a win here off the back of the two Mercedes and their choice of strategy this evening? But Lawrence is going to go down the inside as we ponder that question, and that's an easy overtake for the Ferrari. Gets the job done before the corner even comes along. There's a scrap behind as Jakalako makes a move on RJ Blair. Gets ahead. RJ weaving as best he can, trying to see if a gap opens up for him. Not going to work. Opening up a little bit now is the gap from Lifebout to Finley. Lifebout really closing in on his teammate ETA. Begs the question, is ETA slowing down perhaps? Is he allowing Lifebout to catch up? Don't know. Lifebout continuing to set another fastest lap. Finley dropping back more than he would want, and Lifebout's going to be picking up a lovely little slipstream from his teammate ahead of him, and that's going to help propel him down the straight as he's got his teammate just punching a hole in the air for him all the way down that straight, just making the drag on that car feel much less of an effect as he goes down the straightaway towards turn number 1. It's the fight between RJ and Jakalako. RJ dropping outside of a second. He's going to have DRS though, because he was within a second at the detection point. Let's see how much he closes in. It's not going to be by much. The slipstream won't be too effective from that distance. But he closes in by a couple of tenths. Speed alcoholic now at the fastest time of the session. We know how fast speed can be on a good day, and he's certainly going for it there. RJ will get more DRS, but I think Jacko on those medium tyres, he's going to check out, leave for Philadelphia in his dust. Lifebout closing in on his teammate. He's got 8 seconds of penalties to worry about from the top of my head. This should be a fairly simple overtake. I don't think they're going to fight this one too much. There they go. Straight down the inside goes Lifebout. Easy manoeuvre. Straight into P1. No fuss. No problems. Going to try and open up that gap now as best he can. All Finley can hope for is perhaps P2. He's got to try and close that gap on Lifebout. Hope those tyres go off. Because taking the soft tyres 16 laps around here seems like a bit of an ask. As man to Brandon now. Getting past Rick, who's going to try and fight this as best he can. He's got that soft rubber. At least the advantage will stick for a little while. But they will eventually drop off, as we've seen in the later stages. But remember, Rick's got to pit again. He's gone on to another set of mediums. He's got to pit again. So, perhaps not the best strategy to have gone for. Meanwhile, Speed Alcoholic and JBS Steve are having a bit of a tat-tat-tat. It looks like Speed Alcoholic's got ahead. He has. He gets the DRS for the next part of the track. Tells me he was the driver behind it now. ET8 Chris with a 3-second time penalty. Is the race for Mercedes falling away from them? We'll see. If Finley can keep it clean and within the white lines, then he can pick up the pieces here for Mercedes. He's got to get a move on. Got to start closing down that gap. He can see that they've got penalties. You know roughly around how much they've got as well. So he's definitely within a shot if he can close that gap up well enough. He won't jump ET8 with the gap, but he'll definitely jump Lifebout as it stands, I think. But not by much. Only by 0.8 of a second. And if Lifebout gets another time penalty, then it's just going to add more to the positions that he might lose prospectively at the end of this race. Not too many more fights going on, although we've got one brewing here. Robbie Pfeiffer closing in on Rick now. When's he going to come in for those soft tyres? I think he was hoping for a safety car, perhaps, you know. But none of them have come out. Everybody's kept it on the track, out of the wall. Only one retirement, and that was Jasko Kirill in the pit lane. So not much going on there, but Robbie is closing in on Rick in the Aston Martin. He's hunting down P5. Robbie Pfeiffer's got a 3-second time penalty, as does Lawrence and Jonathan. So those three are going to lose out if drivers are close enough to reap the benefits, and that's Rick with a big moment coming out of that corner and into the stadium section. Through the final couple of corners Rick goes. Does he come into the pit lane? He's got to at some point. Surely he doesn't. That's going to mean that Robbie in the Alfa Romeo going to close in. DRS open on that rear ring of the Alfa Romeo. Easy pass for Robbie, really. No real fight that Rick can put up, especially after that moment. And it's down into P6 for Rick, but that penalty will help him out as Jack Alaka and Ghost going wheel to wheel. Drag race down towards turn 1. Ghost going to fight this all the way around. So close the two of them have come. These guys have had some great battles in their time. I think they've even been teammates in times before that as well. They've worked well together in times. I've worked with Jack Alaka a few times as well. If anybody remembers way back to Sprint Season 4, I think the first season I drove alongside Jack Alaka, really did an amazing job in that Alpha Tauri. What a season that was. Still a highlight of my APPF1 racing career, for sure. It's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 laps to go, that doesn't make sense. 7, 8, 9 laps. There you go. I was doing some maths, trying to count down how many more laps we've got. About 9 laps left of this race. Not too much going on. Rick finally in. Soft tyres for Rick. Ghost is coming as well. I think he might have done the same thing. Or maybe he's gone hard medium now. It's going on to the softs, perhaps. Trying for fastest lap. The safety car came out right now. Ghost will be laughing. And he's serving a penalty, it seems. No? A slow stop. What was that about? Maybe it was a glitch, because he's way further down the pit lane than you'd have thought, actually. So, just a glitch there as Lifebout Up ahead, we'll take a look at the penalty situation again. That's not the penalty situation. 11 seconds now for Lifebout. And your gap to lead is 7.4. So Lifebout has thrown this one away on penalties. He may think he can get some of those removed. But track limits penalties aren't easy to get rid of. Let's see. We'll take a look at the race director. We're not missing too much. Now, let's view lap times. We're looking for warnings on the right-hand side. So you got one on the first lap. 1, 2. You got 2 warnings there, so that could be a penalty removal. Yeah, so he might. So prospectively, he's actually got 6 seconds as far as track limits violations go. But if he gets another one, then there's nothing he can do. So he's got to not get another time penalty, or it will for certain be 11 seconds. No more warnings, Lifebout. Keep it between the white lines. Oof, that was very close. Between the two is Jonathan now into the pits. He's going to chuck on some soft tyres. He's actually lost his wing as well. I think he's had a moment. Where that is, I'm not sure. He's going to get lapped though. In the pit lane. He'll be a lap down now. As the leaders are going to come through. Finley will get past him as well by the looks of things. Rick has come out in a little bit of, well, not I say in traffic. He's just ahead of RJ actually, but he'll get rid of RJ pretty quickly on those soft tyres. Will the Dutchman, and he'll put in some flying lap times for sure, trying to steal some extra championship points to go his way. That's a better race from Mercedes, although Lifebout with the potential to drop it if he gets another track limits violation. Ghost has got himself a track limits penalty after cutting the track too many times. We all know he likes to take the admin line from time to time. Gives him that extra little bit of speed that he needs to make corners and stuff. So he's got reprimanded for that one. He's done it too many times now. Here's the league owner Ghost as he comes through the final corner. 4 people watching. Hope you're enjoying the racing so far. Not too much happening, but this is a bit of action as Speed goes round the outside of RJ Blair. That's a very late move from Speed Alcoholic. Not a lot of room was there to make the move, but Speed not one to back down. Through past the McLaren he goes, and that's going to be a fairly plain and simple overtake for the Alfa Romeo, who won't have to defend too hard down into turn 4. Not long now left of the race. We've got about 7 laps to go, or 6 laps. 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 laps to go. As you count that, it's so weird counting down laps. I think I'd be used to it by now, but I'm really not. But look at these gaps. So big are the gaps. Although Robbie and Banter Brandon look like they're going to reignite their battle from earlier and get themselves close together once again. Although it looks like the closest battle on track is actually between RJ and Speed. So we're just keeping an eye on that timing tower to see what's going on. The two of them relatively low on ERS. Speed with a little bit more left in the tank. 5 people watching so far. Hello everybody, hope you're enjoying so far. Come and say hello in the live chat if you're there. I would appreciate any comments that you have for the racing thus far. It's not been the most exciting of APPF1 Tier 1 races, but it's certainly had its moments. We've got 14 cars left in the race after Yasko Kirill pitted and retired in the pit lane on his mandatory pit stop. He'd had enough of this circuit, which isn't the easiest track to master. I will say that much about the Autodromo Jimenez Rodriguez, as Robbie Pfeiffer 2 bits of oversteer in the last couple of corners there. That's not going to help his campaign to reignite this fight with Banter Brandon, but it's not slowing him down anyway. Here we go then, the two of them, vastly different amounts of VRS. Banter's almost got a full battery. Robbie, with very little left. but he's closing with the ERS. Going to go to the late braking move down the inside in towards turn 1. Banter won't be too worried about that because he knows he's got the battery to fight this one back, and he'll try and focus on the exit now. Let's see what he does. He's going to just sit behind, I think. He knows he can get him. He doesn't need to be too hasty with any of his decisions out on the track. All he's got to do is stick with Robbie, get past when he's able to, and that would be job done for the Alpine. But a little bit of action to wake up this sleepy race in these final few laps. So what else? Anybody been able to snatch that fastest lap from Lifebound? No, an 18.0. The best attempt was an 18.2 from Speed Alcoholic. I think that was set on the mediums. Oh, Alex in the chat. Good evening. Good evening to you as well, sir. I hope you are enjoying the racing as it is going along. We've got about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 laps left to go. Lifebout has been leading the way. Let's see what the penalty situation is now. We'll update you on Lifebout's race director, as that's probably the most interesting part of this. So still 1, 2. Has he got another warning after the penalty there? No, he hasn't. He's kept it within the white lines, so he might get a case for getting that penalty removed. I'm just talking about the 3-second time penalty as Banter Brandon gets back past Robbie Pfeiffer. I just missed that, so I was looking at the race director, but Banter Brandon's going to be provisionally P4 anyway with the time penalty that Robbie has. Oh, Bumblebee, my word, hello. It's been ages, my friend. Gosh, anyone remembers Bumblebee? I think he's was he season 1's tier 2 champion? I know he's a tier 2 champion. I can't remember what season. Ghost would correct me if he was here, but he's not. But wow, it's been a long old while. How you doing, man? If Robbie Pfeiffer's continuing his campaign, he's not giving this one up. He's got the penalty still, though. Fastest lap still in the hands of Lifebout, the Dutchman. Still 3 seconds for Robbie Pfeiffer. He's going to try and make a move, perhaps, if he can. Although Banter's got a lot of ERS at his disposal. But here comes the Alfa Romeo down the inside now. Side by side, the pair of them go. Banter goes the long way around. He's a smart racer, Banter Brandon. Knows what he's doing. But Robbie Pfeiffer is a scrappy fighter in that Alfa Romeo. And scraps to the very end. And put on a good show there too. Looks to the inside now. And he's going to try for it. Down the inside they go. Lovely little battle this is between the two of them. It may not be for position as far as penalties are concerned, as Ghost gets past RJ Blair, but it's still a little bit of fun out there between these two out on the track. And we'll tune back in with RJ and Ghost. RJ goes off the circuit a little. He'll try and get a move done on Ghost if he can. Ghost has got a lot more speed though on those soft compounds of tyre. And this is interesting. How's Lifebout doing on these tyres? Trying to see if I can get a clear image of what his tyres look like. Can't really, it's too difficult. On a real car, I'd be able to tell how the tyres are doing. Let's see what the gap to leader is. Sitting around 8 seconds. So provisionally, Lifebout, if he does manage to get a penalty removed, which I think he should, as he got 2 warnings at one corner. Or maybe he got 2 warnings on 1 lap. We'll have to see. I have to ask about that. But these two still fighting away. Robbie Pfeiffer once again making the move down here. I'm trying to figure out what Lifebout's situation is. But Banter Brandon going to look to go again. It's into the inside. Doesn't get it done. Just tucks in. Keeps moving. But Lifebout definitely... there's a chance here that he drops the lead of this race after time penalties. But that'll be something that gets decided after the race, especially if you've got 2 runners in one corner. Bumblebee in the chat says season 2. Yeah, okay, now I'm remembering. I've had so many races to commentate on since then. It's been a bit of a blur, really, as we keep an eye on this fight here as Finley now breaking into that 8-second gap, so could be a P2 on the hands of the APPF1 if he's close enough. Sid, how are you guys? Been away from racing a long time, but coming back soon on PC. Missed the racing with you guys. Good times. Yes, I've been considering doing PC or getting a PS5 of late. I'm currently leaning toward the PC just because I don't have to buy a PS5, although it may mean missing out on racing with APP for a while as Banter Brandon once again makes a move on Robbie Pfeiffer. Although hopefully EA and Codemasters can sort out crossplay, and even perhaps you can come back and race with us, Bumblebee. It'd be nice to see you back out on the circuit. But we're doing great, actually. Having a good time. We're here in Mexico racing. Could do a few more drivers, so if you ever wanted to come back, Bumblebee, we'll offer you an open invitation. Always nice to have as many drivers as possible on the grid, but having some good times out there. Myself, I've transitioned over to wheel, learning that. It's been about a month or so now. Getting there, still not up to pace, but I'm only a few seconds, or only about a second or so off the pace that I was able to set on the controller, and slowly encroaching on it, so not doing too bad at all, thank you. But hopefully you can get back to racing very, very soon, because, well, that's why we're all here, isn't it? We love racing here at APPF1, and we've had some great battles on track. These two have had a great battle out on the track, and we're on the final lap. That's come and gone quickly, so let's ride along with Lifebout, who is in serious danger of losing that P2 to ET8 Chris. We'll put the penalty situation up now so you can see ET8's managed to keep it within the white lines, although I think with the gap he won't drop out to Lifebout. Finley won't. Oh, I don't know. What's the gap? Oh, Finley's doing everything he can. I think ET8 is going to be in the best position to win this race, though, as he's close enough and closing in. Let's see Lifebout coming around the final few corners. The fireworks in the stadium going off already for car number 7 through the final few corners. But he's not been able to do enough to open up the gap. He's going to lose places here. Lifebout's going to come across the line in first place. But ET8 Chris is going to snatch the win from Lifebout after those penalties. And is Finley going to do it? He is. P2 for Finley. Wow, what a go. 7/10 of a second between himself and ET8 Chris. It's very close for the lead. And wow, lots of penalties meant Lifebout drop way back. Banter Brandon's going to be next across the line. It's going to be position number 4 for the Alpine through the final couple of corners. Now he comes as he crosses the line. A fantastic race from Banter Brandon. Definitely my driver of the day, starting toward the back. And what a charge he had through the field. What a race he had. And you know what, Robbie, I'll give you a little pat on the back there for doing so well at a track you didn't like, because it's always nice when you do well at a circuit you're not enjoying too much. Lawrence across the line in P8, and there's Rick. We're just waiting for the last few with speed across the line. We'll Ghost get him as he comes across the line. Not quite, not able to break into that 3 seconds, and just RJ and MCL left to go. Good to hear, mate. You'll get there. Hope crossplay comes available. Definitely like to join then again. Then yes, we would 100% love to have you back, Bumblebee. We've got to have one of our champions back on the grid. That would be great to see. But hopefully it becomes stable enough that crossplay will work. Yeah, what a finish! Congrats to the top 3, says Bumblebee in the chat. And yeah, Lifebout then, despite the potential for losing one of those 3-second time penalties, it's not going to matter. He's going to have lost out on the win today. After time penalties, he's going to have to settle for P3, which won't be too bad. But considering that Finley is the closest rival to the Mercedes drivers right now, it's going to heat up in the Drivers' Championship. Finley's going to gain some decent points. But there's ET8 Chris raising the trophy as he well deserves. He's done a great job around this circuit. But let's have a look at the standings before the end result comes through. So you've got 72, then there's Finley on 65, so 60. We've got a Drivers' Championship on our hands, folks. The Constructors may be a little bit out of reach for APPF1, but with today's result, the Drivers' Championship is certainly still on the cards between the two Mercedes and the AlphaTauri of Finley, who make up your podium today, with ET8 Chris on the top step, flanked by Finley and Lifebout. Then the Banter Brandon in P4, driver of the day from me, and a game as well, so we're both lined up on that, with Robbie Pfeiffer rounding off the top 5. Then there's Jackalacko, Lawrence, Rick, Speed Alcoholic and Ghost on the top 10, with RJ Blair and MCL, JBS Steve and Jonathan making up the rest of the group, of Yasko Kirill not finishing the race. What a lovely little race that was. And in a few minutes' time, I'll be over with ESRL for their reverse grid sprint championship. 2 races. Where are we going for that? I think it's Imola and Qatar. From when I checked. Championship calendar. Yes, Imola and Qatar on November 17th. So tune in for that in a few minutes. But decent race from Tier 1. We've got a Drivers' Championship ever brewing. Will it go down to the final race? It'll be yet to see if that is the case. But I'm going to go and get myself a cup of tea, have a little bit of a rest before ESRL. And I shall see you guys in a few moments. But thank you all so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you all watching along and supporting the streams as well. But for now, I've been Sumo. I'll see you in a few moments' time for ESRL. And if I don't see you then, have a very good night.